3 minutes late. Yesterday I talked about the possibility of replacing Final Fantasy VI with Paper Mario. That's going to happen. We're not going to do that today. Today we're going to give Final Fantasy IX its time back. We stole from it from Final Fantasy VI. We're going to play Final Fantasy IX from 12 till 4, and then switch to Mass Effect. Hey again, Majin Paul. How's it going? Shepard. I think we agreed, yeah, naming Steiner Clunky. That is a sweet game. It's been a while since I played it, too. Hey Majin, how's it going? The character design in this game is pretty unique. For some reason that chef has an oversized hat and had to cut eye holes in it. It's the only 3D one that you've played but not beaten, or the only one you've played? Recognize that a head chef, we might run into that character again in the future. Gotcha, cool. Oh, interesting. This is the most, what's the phrase? Classic 3D Final Fantasy, in that it's bringing back a lot of the team from Final Fantasies 1 through 6, so... Majin, have you played the other Witcher games? Because I've never done it. I've never played Witcher 1 or 2, although I hear they're good games, which would put them on the list to be played on this channel eventually. Steiner's theme, it's so, like, perfect and plodding. Ice Cavern. Just exploring here. Fury is felt. At once, sir! This game, I think it has this is one of the, well, this is the last Final Fantasy game to use pre-rendered backgrounds. Right, Final Fantasy X is totally 3D. But here, every map you're on is basically a painting, and they're really good. They got really good at using 3D graphics in pre-rendered backgrounds. It's kind of hodgepodge in Final Fantasy VII and to some extent Final Fantasy VIII. But all these maps are very pretty in this game. Cool. I'll add them to my list. Persevere. Princess in a white mage robe. Lots of little references to older Final Fantasies in this game. Graphics! If you're Alt-Tab, you should tab in and check out this cutscene. I love freaked out Steiner's face. This game has a pretty great cast of characters. I tend to prefer JRPGs. BioWare is a massive exception. I've loved every BioWare game. There's a hidden scene later where you can get this band to play Rufus's theme from Final Fantasy VII. What in darnation? Yeah, muchin'. Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, can you throw it on the Reddit post, Kami? It's my best way to go through and organize and look through the list. I mentioned this before, but I feel like the big difference between Japanese RPGs and Western RPGs, the JRPGs tend to be very character focused. They have plot, but the focus is more on building each of the characters and getting you attached to them. Western RPGs are more setting and story focused with less focus on the characters, which is fine. Like, both of them are great approaches to storytelling. But what's interesting is that Mass Effect 2 is unique among WRPGs in that it is entirely character focused. Like, clearly there's a plot in Mass Effect 2 and it's awesome, but the game's all about building a squad and finding out about their backstories and working with them, doing their loyalty missions and stuff. I think that's what makes Mass Effect 2 so great. It's a combo W and JRPG. This might be the best looking PS1 game. Like, the deformed character models kind of work with the graphical limitations of the system. The best looking non-sprite graphics PS1 game. That's a good point, Majin. Although 12 is sort of like that, actually. 12 is different in that the supposed main character, Vaughn, is actually completely irrelevant to the plot in every way. He's really just there because they needed to have like the prerequisite 17-year-old plucky teenager kid. The story is actually about Bosch and Ash. But 12, I think 12 fits outside of the typical Final Fantasy canon. It's a great game, but it's an Evil East game, so it has a very different feel. 12 would be a good one to play again. I haven't played that since it came out. It was another one of those, bought it at midnight, took off a week to play it. Remember nothing from it now. I've heard that, Kami. I heard that they forced Vaughn Pinello. Which is too bad. I agree, if it had just been Bosch. The non-cutscene scenarios in this game are amazing. Hey TMG, hey Flarewing. They do a lot with the graphics they have. You got to appreciate it. We just played Final Fantasy VII, right? There is almost no major action that happens outside of an FMV cutscene in 7. Characters are all very rigid. They don't have cool little scenes like this. No, weird Kami. I don't really care for Vaughn and Pinello. Bosch is cool. You know, a game that's weird but cool where you're not playing as a plucky teenager is Lost Odyssey. It's a Sakaguchi game from when he started Mistwalker. The main character is like 1,000 years old. He's this immortal. So he's like simultaneously a grandfather, a father. He looks like he's like, I don't know, in his early 20s. It's a weird game for a lot of people to get into because it's such an alien concept that this like adventuring guy is a grandpa. It's got a really cool soundtrack because it's Uematsu. We'll probably play Lost Odyssey on stream eventually. Lost Odyssey also has some really cool story written by this like famous Japanese novelist. And it's not just like the main plot line, but there's all these little like memories that the main character of Lost Odyssey has. He's the classic amnesiac JRPG character, right? But all these things happen to him in his 1,000 years of life, and when you learn about those things, it's like a little pop-up storybook that just tells you in text like a novel. So part of the game is finding those little backstory pieces. Yeah, I hear that, Majin. 10 would be improved if it didn't have the focus on Titus. But let's think about that though. 10, the reason 10 works as well as it does is because Titus knows nothing. Like this is a classic film, just storytelling technique in general, where you have one character who has a good reason to know nothing about the universe he's in. Luke Skywalker is a good example in Star Wars. He's basically a hick from a backwater world, so he needs other characters to tell him about the universe that he exists in, which is a way of them to tell things to the audience. Similarly, in Final Fantasy X, Titus is from Xanarkand, not Spira, so that gives everyone an opportunity to inform the audience, the player, about Spira without it seeming hackneyed. So I think it's important that there is a focus on Titus. I think it just probably could have faded maybe 10 or so hours into the game. It does become a little bit more on Yuna the further into the game you get. I will be playing Legend of Dragoon on stream. I rented it when I was a kid and played it for the rental period, but not past that. So I don't remember much from it. I forgot to equip his Mage Masher, but I think we'll be okay. Same deal. Spam steal until you get everything. One of my favorite features of this game. There's a lot you can do when you know that the main character is a thief. I like to see a Final Fantasy where the main character is a black mage. I guess Terra is kind of like a red mage, and she's not really the main character though. Okay, that's everything. should probably turn on memory. I mentioned this yesterday, but this is my favorite, like, regular battle music. Just like, you know, the random battle song. It's rockin' as hell. It's got that classic feel to it. Hey, Ectoplasm, welcome. Never surrender. Remember he had all those Oglops on him, the little bugs. So it was a cool animation even to have in battle. Nothing like that in Final Fantasy VII. See, I think the serious stuff in Final Fantasy IX works all the better because it's generally a lighthearted game. Like Final Fantasy VIII's a little too grimdark. 7 can be funny too. It's also a little dark. This is probably the most lighthearted Final Fantasy. 5 might be a close contender. Yeah, that's fair margin. I like the unit focus of the story anyway. She's the main character of that game. The game's about her and the friendship she forges. Hey Matt, welcome. Let's improvise. Oh my hero. Steiner over there. Prince Rolf. I shan't return. I think the name Cornelia is a reference to Corneria, the first town in Final Fantasy I. There's a couple of those. There's a character in this game named Garland, and the game heavily implies that he's related to the Garland in Final Fantasy I. There's actually a whole lot of Final Fantasy I callbacks in this game. Maybe we'll do Final Fantasy I Dawn of Souls after this one to kind of point some of them out. There's the 4 elemental creatures. Garnet's the best. If you think about it, there's like the classic. There's the 4 elements of Castlevania, right? What is it? It's Bat, Medusa, Mummy, Frankenstein's monster. Fire, water, air, and earth. And then you've got the same with Final Fantasy I with the Lich, Salamander. There's 2 other ones. Yep, the fiends. Rubicant, Lich Dude, Turtle Guy, who's weak against Bolt 3, and Wind Lady. Half-naked wind lady. Ah! Poor Vivi. So this is still playing from the disc, by the way. I just have the actual Final Fantasy IX disc in my computer disc tray with the EPSX-E as the emulator. It's running very smoothly. I've never played that. I love Castlevania, but I've never played those games. I've played all the side-scrolling Castlevanias and most of the Metroidvanias. Lord of Shadows is 3D, right? We're gonna get the boss theme in this game is pretty sweet too. I think that's coming up fairly soon. Okay, we're gonna focus on stealing before we do anything. Oh, he doesn't have steel. That's good. Tells me I'm okay to just do whatever. Look at all these summons she doesn't have access to yet. Bahamut, Odin, Tomos, Ifrit, and Shiva. Look behind you. No, I'm not falling for that one. 'Tis but a flesh wound. More graphics if you're alt-tabbed. Cutscene. That's high praise. God of War are quite good games. What's my favorite Final Fantasy airship? Probably Blackjack. Ragnarok's kind of cool, but you have it for like 2 minutes. That's a cool idea. Shoot a cannon with a bomb. Behind your buddy. Okay, still SFX. Leon, welcome. Right. shame you only get to use it for like 10 minutes. Once. It's very difficult to balance magic and physical attacking, especially with an MP system. I think this game does the closest job of doing it. Vivi remains relevant and useful for the whole game, and part of it is like making sure that save points and places to restore your MP are equally spaced out from each other. Like, Vivi's quite good in the Ozma fight, optional boss. We'll be doing that, likely. Yeah, I love this bomb. Just smart too, Kami. It's a challenge. It's a very fine line between magic users being completely OP and being hobbled by the fact that they need to use magic points. That's a really smart way to do it too. Restore MP with basic attacks. That's what I mean. It's such a fine line. Like, you'd have to tune that perfectly. You have to make sure it scales from beginning to end game. More graphics. I like how her fan is in line with the music. I think 9 has one of the best overall soundtracks in Final Fantasy. I mean, they're all great. I can think of a bad Uematsu made Final Fantasy soundtrack, but that's cool, Majin. Yeah, that might be the correct way to do it. Require magic users to physically attack occasionally. Oh, that's harder to do in a turn-based game. The whole opportunity cost problem. Thanks, Moogle. It's a neat concept. Doesn't interrupt what you're doing. You can choose to watch it when you're ready. I'll typically just watch it immediately, but... Whoa! What's up, buddy? Are you Monty? You're Moscow. I love Moogles as save points.